Good morning, everybody. This is Mia in Maryland, and I have done a video in the past that I don't know what was exactly said as far as some details, but I was doing some Maryland Notary work and some Maryland TIPIC, so Title Insurance Producer Independent Contractor, or how we like to a lot of people like to follow, what is it, the National Notary Association's got the what do you call it? Loan signing agents. So that's a term that sounds easier than title insurance producers. I've talked to other insurance producers, and they're looking at me like I'm crazy when I say that I'm involved in. I'm looking at my schedule, so that's clue number one in insurance. But that I do loan signings for home mortgages and refis and deeds. Okay, today is the 19th of September. I was going to say February. So I also own, the way I got into notary was by being a naturopathic doctor who is training for years as looks like I have a class, a neurology class. I better find out more information. I have a 2 o'clock class. Okay. I have trained to be a naturopathic midwife, what used to be called naturopathic obstetrics in the state of Oregon. In the state of Oregon, it's a childbirthing certificate for naturopathic doctors, where I could also be a primary care physician. And again, the prior terminology was obstetrics, but then we called it childbirthing, but we pretty much used the term midwife. So until I actually take a midwifery, like a accredited regular NARM exam, midwifery national exam, I'm not necessarily a midwife. I can become a licensed midwife in the state of Washington. And because of getting my doctor's license in 2015, I finished all the requirements in 2014, including graduation and finishing the 2 board exams, plus the state, what was the state exam? I can't even remember. Jurisprudence, I guess. And the state pharmacology exams, which was, both of those were open book. I had I had divided it up. A lot of people take all of those exams I just talked about in like the same week. It's 3 days, 2.5 days of testing, because for Oregon and a lot of other states, you need to take the minor surgery. How do I feel like? I think they changed. I think they added a different pharmacology on. They combined pharm with mine. Why do I feel like? Oh, I guess it's the optional acupuncture exam. So the state of Arizona would have that. Yeah, I actually want to take that exam, but anyways, you love exams. So instead of taking it all the same week, I didn't want to be burdened, so I stretched it out. Took one in August, or the big sets with the national ones, and then I took the state test in 2015. No, the end of 2019. So they had those 2 times a year. No, they had the nationals 2 times a year, and I believe they had. I feel like they had them 4 times a year. The state ones, I'm not even sure. Anyways, I was able to take it, and then one way or another, it takes a while to get your results back. And when you get your results back, you need to do all the paperwork and stuff, because you can't really do your license until you're shown that you passed all the tests. And then by that time, it's November, December, that all the licenses expire, December 31st. So since I was going back to college, the same medical graduate school for the childbirthing education that I need to finish, and I was still finishing my, I call it practical hours, but the hours all in the field, like actually doing out-of-hospital births that sometimes actually turn into hospital births. So I know I'm getting on a tangent, but it was because of that in Oregon at the time, if they were unmarried, which is a whole other thing, if they were married to someone else, when the baby was born to another partner, that's a whole nother story. They needed to get some legal counsel, but a lot of people needed to have some paperwork for the birth certificate notarized, and due to being home birth, we're saying, hey, we kind of want you to stay home for about 2 weeks and just do light outings when it's time to try to get out and walk around and have the baby out in public where there's people breathing and stuff. And I ended up saying, oh, I should become a notary public. And in Oregon, it was $10. I've had a lot of stuff notarized. In fact, I think I need to get some stuff notarized now. $10, and I never even knew that really banks did it, and I didn't even ask my bank, because we would say, oh, you're going to need to go to a notary, we would tell the patients, oh, you're going to need to go to a notary in the next such and such days, just go to your bank and they'll do it for you, right? So I would say, oh, I should take that class, and the doctor that I was training with was like, oh yeah, we always say we should take this class, but it becomes one of those things where we don't have time, because it was an in-person class, some night class, and it was a lot of hours. And for me, I was a single mom, and I didn't have money to buy a lot of classes or any classes whatsoever, because anything that I was buying was literally on student loans, which is a very unfortunate thing that I had to dig myself out of that hole. So for me, I came to Maryland kind of suddenly at the end of 2019, and I did have a ticket back the next month to Oregon. So did I come out here in October? I think I came out in October, and then I left in November, and then I came back. And I actually had a job as a vendor in the Fred Meyer stores and some other stores, for third party at one street light, and then at the next one I had a job for 2 years at the Pizza Hut, and at the next light was my actual clinic space. So it was kind of unfortunate to have all these $12 and $13 an hour jobs and have a clinic that's kind of sitting empty because I didn't have patients hiring me, or if I did, they would see me and their insurance, Medicaid, was deciding not to pay me. And I couldn't live like that, doing work where MDs and nurse practitioners get $600 an hour, and I was receiving $0. So I had to work, or else I would have been homeless again, and my kids would have been along with me, which actually happened. It had happened in the past, but I actually got laid off a job at my medical school, which is called NUNM. In the lab, they restructured everything, and they pretty much got rid of everybody but the person who lied all the time, and that person also lied about everybody else and made up lies, and it was one lie after another. And another coworker's like, you need to document everything because they will ruin your reputation. And I didn't want to believe that someone would take the energy to be that way. So going back to coming here, my supervisor was no longer, when I went back to Portland to work for the Pizza Hut, my supervisor was no longer available, and I was not able to get back on the schedule. So I ended up coming out temporarily back to Maryland, and was going to I was going to stay in Oregon and do births and naturopathic medicine. It's like kind of two separate things, but for me it's the same, and it's under the same board. And I was going to have a Maryland medical license so that when I visited my partner and his relatives, I would be able to fund my trip by being a licensed practitioner. And it took me 6 months from November. It took me longer because I had already had the application in the summer of 2019. Between the background checks and all the paperwork, and the people weren't answering my question. They wanted you to have a collab agreement, which I had never had in all the years that I was licensed. Alone, sole provider, primary care, and specialist, all ages, and delivering babies. I had never had any kind of collab with anybody. And once in my career, which was this year, I put out something on the Facebook group about how do you deal with this condition, and only like one person responded. It was pretty sad. 2 people, like usually you see these things and like 38 people respond within 5 minutes. So I was like, oh, I am a person that's not necessarily like, but in December of 2019, I had planned on being mostly in Oregon and then being able to travel back and forth and maintain both clinics. It took so long to get my medical license in Maryland that I said, why don't I look up what to do as a notary? Because I also was I had sent a bunch of inquiries through the work computer at Pizza Hut to transfer. There was 2 positions open here. I think it was as manager and driver or cook. So there was 2 positions open here, and I did a like internal employee thingy to apply for that job, and I didn't get any response. So I was trying to see if I could transfer locations. And then it became a big mess with unemployment, and they're trying to say that I just quit and all this stuff. And it's like, I didn't have access. They didn't pay me my work, I was supposed to have vacation hours because I worked there for more than 2 years. They never gave me 1 minute of vacation. They were supposed to pay my sick. I did sick pay requests. I didn't get any of my money. I was being overcharged for the insurance, and they wouldn't answer the phone until it was like till the next year, like 2020. And so like, oh, we don't have those records anymore. We delete all that out of your systems. Like, you had some issue in December with this company, but on January 1st, January 2nd, when you open up again, oh, it's all gone. It's all been deleted. We have no records. Like, how can you not maintain records for employees? Like, it's not even, you're not even keeping them for 30 days, you know? And that company, NPC, actually went bankrupt, and Pizza Hut still exists as being owned by somebody else. I can't remember. Yum, or it used to be part of Yum. I can't remember. Anyways, so I ended up trying to get a job everywhere. In anything, whether it's lab, whether it's like medical lab, non-medical lab, restaurant, waitress, driver, and I could not get any jobs. So I ended up doing all of the steps to be notary public, and I became, I want to say it was the middle of December. It's hard to remember. I'll have to look, actually, to look on my little stamp. Ooh, I'm gonna have to order a new stamper, you guys. Oh my gosh, I need to write that down. And I went into the local courthouse, did the background check. I think I had to put some people to say that I was a good moral character. I put stamper. I'm gonna put ×2. Sometimes they need you to prove it, but I need a stamper the day this expires. Like, I can't wait until afterwards because I won't be able to do any work. I went and did my oath, and I have a picture that my partner took of me holding my certificate or whatever I had in my hand. I don't know. I feel like I had a certificate. I wonder what happened to that. And I didn't get any calls. And then I didn't get my medical license, and I didn't get any other jobs. And I'm also a doula, a certified birth and postpartum doula, which birth also means prenatal, because you're going to work with the people and then go to their birth. So I'm certified in both. And among other things, I became an ordained minister, so I could do weddings, and I bought the equipment, or the paperwork, and the stampers, or not the stampers, but the certificates and whatever else for that through, what's it, Life Ministries? I can't remember what it's called. I'll have to tell you guys later. So what I did is I tried to advertise. I got on, not BankServe. I got on BankServe eventually. I think you have to take a test. It's like first come, first serve, and it like fills up in like 3 minutes or so. You like literally have to hovering. I think it was BankServe. You had to hover over it. I need to actually update all that stuff, and my stuff is expiring. Anyways, let's go back to 2020, the week that, March of 2020, when my state shut down. I guess I'm talking to Maryland notaries and typics. The state shut down, the government order, and except for essential travel. and essential jobs, which Notary was, and then everybody started refinancing their homes, and the phone rang morning to night. I got tons of emails. They said, I need you to do the signing. I saw you on, I can't remember, one of the major free directories, and I was like the only person in the area. I think there was somebody about an hour south of me, and I had contacted, I'd seen other notaries in my town, and I had seen people say, hey, I need a signing, a general notary signing, is anyone available? And all these people like vultures would be like, whoosh, within 2 seconds, like, I'm available. And they were all available, like, I'm available in 3 days. Oh, I'm out of town, I'll be back on Monday. Oh, I can do it tomorrow. And I'm just like, I can do it now. Did they contact me now? And so I went back to that website and said, hey, is anybody doing loan signings? Or I went back to that post, and they did not respond. So they were like vultures when this person needed, and it was $4 per signature, and then they're just like vultures plus the mileage. And I was like, wow. And I thought it would be cool to have somebody, hey, I'm busy today, but such and such is only a mile from me or whatever. And it's happened with me for notary, it's happened with me for doula, it's happened with me for birth assistance, and as a naturopathic doctor, where I don't have a network of people to even talk to, or let alone if I was sick, to say, not for loan signing, you're not going to, like, you could say, hey, I'm not available because I'm sick, but here's someone in my area, and I would have said, like, you're not allowed to take your packet that you receive from ABC, Title, or whatever, and distribute it to someone else. If they contact you because you passed the test and you uploaded all your identification and you turned in your background check from National Notary and you did proof of insurance, you need the what is it called, the E&O. So the BIPOC has the 1 million, and then you need the, you don't necessarily, people say, why do I need liability when I'm going to someone's house? But I do the liability. What if this piece of paper gets someone a paper cut? Or what if my pen leaks on their antique tablecloth and they're going to charge me? What if it's $400, I need to get it dry cleaned? Or, oh, my dog ate your, like, I don't know, your stamp or your emboss or whatever, like, and our vet bills were $6,000, we're suing you because you came to our, like, I don't want to be sued. I don't want to pay, an extra $40-something a month or whatever it is for that. But that's just me doing liability. I also have a clinic. People will say, why do you even need that if you're not even having people come into your office where they could trip and fall on the carpet or have something fall off the roof because a bird was throwing cans? I don't know, you know what I mean? And we hope that doesn't happen. But if someone gets hurt, I certainly want them to be covered. Like I want you to have your bills, medical costs paid, or I want you to be able to do that. And I also need to do the fine print because my BIPOC, they're pretty stingy. They don't, most of my fine print says nothing covered, nothing covered, nothing covered. So this is a longer video than I want it to be, but that was the process. When I had the phone ringing off the hook, it got to the point where nobody was calling for medical and nobody was calling for doula, and I wasn't ordained minister yet because they talk about the apostille. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce it. And the people were doing the I-9s verifications, and all this for any state, you got to look at what you can and cannot do. I think for California, you got to get a lot of states you need the volunteer, but California, you had to get some kind of different credential. Was it like $3,000 to do the I-9 verification? Anyways, there's the general notary, the loan signing agent, which in some states there's not a difference, but in Maryland there are 2 separate certificate or licenses that you need. You need, just like my naturopathic, I need this one to be absolutely intact in order to add the childbirthing. to be a general notary in Maryland, I needed to add the TPIC. I can't do this one without this one, but I can do this one without this one. See, I started telling these bankers, titles, who else calls, lawyers, anyone can call, whoever. I always call the third party people. What are those people called? I can't remember anymore. The settlement companies. They will call, and they were getting good money, and they had a lot of employees. They were making the appointments. They had customer service most of the time, 24/7. They would get stingy and be looking and saying, this thing is not done right. You're in trouble. Like, oh, I did it, but must have been a mistake. Something happened. The file, I remember the file didn't send for my, and I had to do it with Google. So the other email I used, and it was, things need to be uploaded. The file was too big, so I don't even know what's up with my scanner, the regular scanner. It says file is huge, and then some people say divide it up if it doesn't fit, and some people say absolutely don't divide the files. It needs to be all one document. So you're supposed to do compressed files for PDF files and different things like that, and you're wanting to do secure uploads, hopefully through their websites, and then you're supposed to like delete the information after so many days. It can be tricky because a lot of these companies are nationwide. So let's get back to the phone ringing off the hook. Morning, day, and night. People begging, I'll pay you anything. So money was good for those people back then. And I said, listen, I'm going to do the requirements for this, this TPIC. I'm going to take the class, the pre-licensing class, pre-certification class, and then I'm going to take I think they did it at Prometric. Right when I became a TPIC, they had just changed it because I took too long. They had another company administering the exam. Said I was on some Facebook groups. I was getting some information, but there's a lot of fake information. There's a lot of people saying, "Oh, I don't care. I do all." The people don't check. They call me and say, "Are you a notary? And you need to go do this loan signing." And I was like, if it contains certain types of documents, you need to be a TPIC, a title insurance producer. And they say, well, nobody's checked. It's like the people that say, you know what, you're stupid using a laser printer. I've been using inkjet for years, and nobody said anything. And I was like, as far as I know, I mean, sometimes there's like this rule that it could be written or unwritten, but everyone's like, you need to use laser. And like in medicine, in med school, they told us we had to use black pen, and I was like, I like colors, but I'm like, I haven't seen it in writing. So if you guys see anything that says what you have to and cannot not have to do. Anyways, it's a whole nother thing. I made a promise, which I don't do, and I said, I'm going to take this class, keep my number, in a couple months I will have the certification. And I was living above a garage, and I had one room plus a small bathroom. If you were to take, this is during COVID, right? Yeah. Did I do it in 2021? Yeah. So I had the notary for a year, and I did no signings. And then I did the training exchange incorporated with Lisa Bleed's pre-course because it was a good deal. I think it's up advertised now as $169 or 100 and let me go to her website right now. The training exchange title producer, title insurance exam prep. Oh, here it is, $169. So I did that class, and then she had a temporary class that was, I can't remember. I actually was looking at my emails, and I saw that I had like some Maryland Coin and Maryland TPIC groups. These people that were getting kicked out of those groups left and right. It was crazy. People speak up about what the rules are, and the administrators, for some reason, or somebody flags it, and then I start kicking people out. So to shorten the video, since I also do a lot of languages. I don't like to put that I can do fluent Spanish because I wouldn't feel good, but I definitely do Duolingo, and that's why it's almost 12, so I want to do that, even if I come back and do a part 2, because this is a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. So I took this class. It's a self-study class. The Maryland Coin is also As far as I know, they use the training exchange as stuff to do group study, and they're charging a fee. I never took that group study. I just studied on my own, and then I was running out of time. I might have had to pay a $15 extension to take the test. I think, was there a practice test? And then, I don't know if there's a practice test, but I took the test and I passed it. And then the owners, I believe at least as the owner said, hey, you can keep taking this test over and over, like to practice basically. And so I didn't do the computer proctored exam that you can do in your home, because you're supposed, I hear rumors that you have to have the room empty, the table or desk you're on has to be absolutely nothing on it, no papers, and you have to take the camera and go around. There can't be like any stuff and no people. So in the one room garage, I didn't have that, so I had to go to Salisbury, I think, an hour away, and my partner's vehicles are pretty old, like 20 plus years old. We drove in the summer. I guess it says April that I got. So in my mind it was hot. We went south. I think it's south. And we showed up in this big complex because they just changed it to Prometric. And I come in. Everything online said do not come in because of COVID. You need to sit in your car until your test time. And I came in. They're like, we're not going to let you in. We don't want to let you in because you needed to be here like 30 minutes prior to your appointment because we need to check your ID. But it's like online it says do not come in until exactly the time. So they needed to fix that and not scold people. There's not even really a sign on the door. And I saw other people coming and going. So they almost didn't even let me take it. But when we showed up, the vehicle just died. Like, it didn't start again. And so that's crazy, you know what I mean? Like, that's just really crazy. Thank God we got there, and since it was a big complex, I'm glad we didn't like stop at the wrong place and not be able to restart it. I don't know what my partner did to fix it. Maybe it was overheating and he needed to add water to it or whatever. And I have learning differences. I'm doing my Spanish right now. I have learning differences, and I get very overstimulated by other people, like shuffling papers and people out there talking, people coming and going. And I think they gave you everything. You weren't allowed to bring your own earbuds or earplugs, and they want to make sure like you're not cheating, like have like a secret earpiece or whatever. So you have to use their earplugs. I think they had over the ear earmuffs, but I was probably scared to use them, maybe because I don't know, it's COVID. I don't want any bugs or whatever. Like, and it's timed. So you have the general questions, and you have the state of Maryland questions. And I think it's 2 separate tests. You have to pass both. And I feel like they were both really hard. I feel like the Maryland one, people said, oh, that part was so easy. But I'm really like OCD about how things are written. And I'm like, yeah, in most cases that would be the answer, but not in all. So that would make all of the above, which is not a choice. But I don't like to simplify to say, hey, what is the author of this test? How much detail are they going to go in? Because did they just sit there with flashcards and all these books and practice test and have it fresh, or are they like experienced in the field? It was pretty much in my mind like 99% real estate. So I was actually going to become a real estate agent, but my class expired. I should do it anyways. What do you guys think? So let's get to the renewal. We'll jump forward. You got to make sure you find out you passed your test. I don't think they tell you right away. They send a link or email. I don't even know. And thank God I passed it. And because the Maryland one, people say that one was so easy, but the national was, a lot of people were failing. I had to do that thing where you pick your first answer and you just leave it. Like, I second guessed myself because especially as an African American, as a black woman, and having been in so much poverty as a single divorced parent, I get treated pretty poorly, and with no reason. It's not like I have a reputation of lying, cheating, or stealing. It's just people look at my demographic So I'll second guess myself because other people have spent my whole life saying, you're not doing it right, you're not doing it right. So if I know the answer because I just studied for, 3 months, however long, I think it's 6 months you have to study and pass the test, or else they're going to charge you that fee, which is pretty reasonable to throw down another 15 if you're not, if you procrastinated and didn't take the quiz. If I had known that I could take the test multiple times, because you never know if you take a test. You can always ask them, if you take a test once and you fail it, does that mean like 1 strike, 2 strikes, you're out? Have you ever done classes like that where it's like if you do 2 times, you're gonna end up having to like retake a class or something? And we need this stuff. We need our credentials during a certain time period, and you're not even always able to take stuff early. And a lot of times nobody wants to repay for a class. It's just, I get test anxiety. There was noise. The room was pretty crowded. Again, it was the middle of COVID. I guess I probably had a mask on, huh? I would have had to have. And then you're not allowed to get up and use the bathroom. You are allowed to get up and use the bathroom, but I think you need to count that as the time of the test. So if it's 60 minutes and you get up and use the bathroom, then you're going to lose like 5 or 10 minutes because there's going to be all the checking, emptying your pockets. I think they pat you down and make sure there's nothing on your legs. It's ridiculous. So that had just changed. Most of the people that had already had this certificate that were in those Facebook groups, they were taking the older test. So I didn't even know what to expect. And again, I wasn't even necessarily expecting so much about straight real estate and how much is an acre. Like, that's what I remember studying. So just study what you study, and then the ProVetric at the time gave you a practice test and a study guide, I believe. I don't have it in front of me. So let's jump ahead. I'll come back to that process because it's been a while. I knew that my stuff expired in October, and I knew that my general notary expired in December. I did join the National Notary Association because I have all these, I'm going through papers. The thing, like being a loan signing agent, you have to like paper. No, you don't really have to like it. It's like you just have to be organized, I think. But and very attention to detail, very attention to detail, because these are big transactions for loan signing. So what I did was get the emails from the state that says your license is expiring, and so many times I've either printed or saved requirements, and then I guess it's the general notary, you have to take this other test. And I didn't want to join National Notary Association, but a lot of national companies say, hey, you can't do this unless you're a member of National Notary Association, which is kind of depressing because it's not a requirement for the state. But they have insurance, but I don't know. People try to say that it's not a big enough policy, or that you need it. Was it 200? I can't remember. Sorry. I can't remember the details right now, but I believe that I did I don't know if you even have to be a member to do the, am I even a member? I have to check, guys. But in order to do the background check, I believe that goes through National Notary. And that is, I don't even think that's required for the state because they have their own background. I believe that's required for most of to get yourself on the list. So my video today, even though I went through a lot of the history, a lot of people started moving to my region, so the jobs disappeared, and the jobs that used to be like $175 dropped to like $30, and you're like, you got to drive an hour one way, print up 300 pages, dual 8 by 8.5 by 11 standard page and legal size, and you have to scan it, then go back out and drop it off at. Some people say you have to drop it at FedEx. We will not accept you to put it in a Dropbox or a third party. And I'm like, the nearest or FedEx is over an hour away, over the Bay Bridge, which also is a toll bridge. I'm in the country, guys. So I would have to make sure that I read through everything. I'm not trying to talk about the process, though, but just knowing that the fees go down. If it were general notary and I was having 50 signatures from 2 different owners, or sometimes they want to not tell you that it's going to be the buyer and the seller, and that's a whole nother big step. Oh my gosh. And you could have 2 people on the buyer and 2 people on the seller, and they're going to try to charge you $30. Like, you'd get a lot more doing the notary, general notary fee, like doing the mileage plus the $5 plus the notarial act. So signatures is one thing, but the stamps is what you're going to count. People were counting that different, so I try not to go to the Facebook groups. I like to get my information from the websites themselves, from the government or the licensing people, and a lot of times they won't be able to answer the questions, but just get it in writing. If they have contradictory stuff, you say, hey, I need to email you about this. And if you have to contact someone else, I think that's hard too, especially during COVID. But what I did was I was getting emails, and I knew I had this stuff expire. I didn't know what class I had to take for what, the loan signing agent versus the general notary. And I ended up knowing that some insurance producers or whatever things in Maryland needed at least 30 days prior to their renewal. They had to finish their CE. And I was like, oh my gosh, when is the exact date that mine expires? Oh my gosh, I haven't signed up for classes. So I went through again this morning, and I made myself sit down, and I'm doing, it says CIRCON here. It was the Prometric has the list. Today I went through, so I was reading what the state of Maryland says, that they sent in an email, which I believe matches up what's on their website, and it's really hard for me, because under MIA, it's hard for me to remember all that, because it's not necessarily like typical Maryland, and it'll be under insurance, not where notary is. I actually should go back to notary too and see if I can kind of make sure. I mean, I probably could have killed 2 birds with 1 stone. I also joined Malta, Maryland Land Title Association, and they had the free classes for members, $175 a year. And I only was, in that year, there was only, I think they were all online, because there were still COVID shutdowns. There was only 2 hours that I got. I like kept looking at the schedule, and most of the classes said no tipping, no tipping, no tipping, no title, no tipping. And I'm like, real estate this, real estate that, and it's weird because it's Maryland Landowners, Maryland Land Title Association, so it's not necessarily, anyways, I could be wrong, maybe I saw it wrong, but I didn't renew mine, and I don't have that kind of money, but it was, if I was like a real estate agent, I would have been, or some other kind of title, I would have been able, some other kind of certification, I would have been able to get a lot of free classes, maybe all of them. So I feel like if they're not going to have title, and they know they're not going to have title, they should give us like a lot cheaper. 2 hours. This group I went through was selling the credit hours for $12 for credit hour, which would have been $24 if I had taken it to this person in the first place and saved my $175. So that was pretty sad. Disappointment. And you don't know. You don't maybe not notice the whole year calendar, or you wait till the classes come up to look and click on to register, and they say you can't register. And you might, so always look at that, ask questions, email, getting stuff in writing helps. Sometimes you just have to pick up the phone, or do both. I mean, not harass somebody, but if you have it in writing, then at least, if it's an email, you can go back to it instead of just handwriting notes, but it has something, like a paper trail. So I was overwhelmed about what certification needed what. And I went through and I tried to figure out for Malta, was it 2 hours I took? I feel like it was 2 hours. And they had you do a secret, was it that class, a secret word? And you had to email it within so many hours or whatever to a certain email that they only give you like live as attendance, which is kind of weird because you'd think if it's a webinar, they would see the list of attendees. But anyways, you had to like make sure you really, really listened, that you didn't get up and go to the bathroom, which I feel like it's pretty sad. I feel like they should be able to see that you're in the class. I mean, I guess it took some people, maybe they signed up and didn't attend or something, but you had so many hours to do that, and then they don't tell you they received the email, which is kind of creepy. And so I didn't even know that until this morning. it has Zircon on it, and it has another name. When I call the number, it starts with an F or something. This is older woman. This is from Prometric. So they actually had, I emailed Malta the other, like 2 months ago, and I was like, how do I get my credits? And nobody responded. Maybe they did and I didn't see it, but I was really looking for that response. So I found Prometric had my 2 credit hours, and I had gone back through every email to see what class I registered for from during 2021, and it was like a pain. So I had registered for, I don't have any 3 ethics and 13 general title, and I read on another website, not the state of Maryland, it said you can only take, or maybe it was, I don't know, I'm reading a lot of stuff right now, you can only take 3 ethics, and if you take more than 3, they will not count it as the title. So with my doctor career, and for a while, my doula keeps changing, my doula certification keeps changing the requirements, but you're either taking childbirth or like pharmacology or ethics courses, and sometimes it's like, oh, if you want to take 30 of ethics and 30 or your minimum that you need for farm, they'll count as general if you have more than the requirements. But in this case, I read that you need to do only the 3 will count. So keep that in mind, because this stuff is expensive. Excuse me. So there's also the deadlines, the dates, the getting the CE done within, you need to have it done at least 10 days, and that might be 10 business days. I had to forget about that, or I forget about that. 10 business days, I'm going to say, I'm making up that word, but that would be 2 full weeks before your expiration date. And I read on Malta's website that if you do the class within 10 days, and they use some kind of terminology, but I assumed it meant if we haven't gotten it sent in and you need to send your registration, they said mail that in with your payment. Because it looks like when I pulled up my transcript, I saved it and I printed it, and I used my typic number to to put this in entities and estate and trust webinar and recording deeds in Maryland webinar. So actually, I signed up sometime, but I don't know when I signed up. It says 2/9/22 and 3/23/22 is when I took that through Malta, and it looks like they did it. They uploaded my CE proof within the next day for each of them, so it's nice. So what I think I'm going to do is, I have some stuff this week where I took out of town for work for my clinic. So I think what I'm going to do is just plow through this, take the quizzes, pass them, and just do one after another. I did buy the title insurance, or the title exchange Inc. package 119. I just paid for 16 hours. She has all 16, including the 3 ethics. And I said, oh, I already have 2. It's a better deal if I buy the package. And I didn't even think of this. She said, just take the 14 that you need and save the 2. There's only one class that's 2 credits, so save that one for the next renewal. And then I'd already paid. I was like, oh, I didn't even think of that. Like, think. The title exchange Inc. has 1 star. There's only 1 review on, I think is it Google? I think it was under Google. So I should put a 5-star, because I took her class. That doesn't resonate well with some people. Some people really need to do in-person classes, or they need maybe more interaction. I think hers was pretty much read. I probably printed everything out. So if you all know your learning style, or if there's, I haven't taken any other, but I passed it the first time, and I was really scared, and I thought the test was pretty hard, despite what other people said about certain parts being easy. Some people have struggled in taking it over and over again, so I would like to remain licensed, and even though I'm not really using it, I don't want to pay late fees. And when I take some kind of hiatus or something from my clinic, I want to be able to do this job, and I also need to update my FaxNet line. Was I put somewhere of that being my business line, and now I'm regretting it because I don't remember which one. So keep a list of, if you sign up for different agencies, call list and free profiles or paid profiles. Make sure you keep a list of that, and they're going to want the information from you. But for me, that's how you can get a lot of jobs. You can watch Griffin Notary if you don't already watch. He's in Virginia, so it's so close, but I don't think that they have to pick as a separate, and I don't know if they need to, I think I did some minimal course with National Notary, but I didn't pay for that other course because I was a cheapskate about that. So just keep all that in mind. What you need for your state. So if it's the state of Maryland, what do you need? And when do you need to get it? And how soon? And making sure everything fits the way it's supposed to. And then the other stuff of, okay, now I need to get work, whether I'm working, whatever way I'm working as an independent contractor, how am I going to do that? And how am I going to keep up on all the requirements that are often a lot more additional than what the state level needs, which in my opinion, the state level is pretty thorough. But what I think is going on, it's kind of like my medical license, they want to like kind of dumb you down and then make you do all this extra stuff because they don't realize the extent of your training that you had to take. So say I'm a title company or a title or I forget about the middleman, but whatever the other one middleman is between title, the bank, and the loan signing agent. Because people will show up and say, oh, so you're the notary. Like, the notary. It's like, actually, I'm a title and assurance producer, independent contractor, and I'm actually a doctor and a reverend. You shouldn't feel insulted, but it's like, oh, so you're the notary. The notary. Like, I have a name, But I think that trying to stay organized, setting the timer or setting your phone and making sure you have these dates and everything organized. I forgot I was doing languages too. There might be a way to actually, I think, speaking of languages, there's some stuff about getting translators and different things like that, and you want to, just like medical, you want to make sure you get somebody that's very professional at that, because you don't want anything done incorrectly. That's a whole nother video. So let's see what else. I got to figure out how to do the payments. I got to figure out how to do the process. I'm not going to wait till the last minute, I hope, or the day before even. And I have to look at the dates too. So if it's at the end of the month, it's 31st, who knows, that could be a Saturday or Sunday. And if you had any questions or couldn't get something in, or if it's a Sunday that it expires and you need a postmarked or whatever they say. Some places like it needs to be postmarked. Some people says it needs to be received by, if you can't do the online. So I definitely want to get it done. It's the 19th. I think technically if I waited until literally a month, it would be October 19th, and I would literally have 10 days, a little more than 10 non-business days. So I'll let you know. This is my first renewal, so I think it would be in my best interest to go back to the state of Maryland.gov, whatever that website is, a government website, because you got to be careful if you go through other websites. They can extract some information, but it may be inaccurate or outdated or just plain wrong. It could be right and help clarify, but if it helps clarify, always go to the source. And again, and if the source is contradictory or confusing, then get a hold of somebody. But I'm going to go back to the general notary and make sure that all those requirements are met. And then if I do have some classes and stuff that I need to take for that, because I know they have this will be my first time renewing that one as well. So that one lasted 3 years, title lasts 2. So, and then I'll have to do the same thing next time, except for I'll have 1 more year of general notary. That's my next round of renewals. So I think it's something where that you can, people make 6 figures. Someone like me is lucky to make, $30 a year. But that's just me. I've unfortunately had issues with income, but I want to do things by the book. So that's why I'm making this video. Again, I didn't even know. I thought that I read that the stuff was sent to the state of Maryland, my credits from Malta, and then I was realizing more and more that the state of Maryland, just like the exams and everything, is going to certain third parties, and those third parties are distributing it to their other, collab people. And I'm calling this number and it's talking about sales. I'm like, I don't even know the Circon, anything. It says Circon. I printed this. It doesn't say anything about Prometric. And then, so just check all that while you're licensed, like not just necessarily at renewal, but check whatever you can, because the requirements, just like with general notary, is stuff's changing. And I actually am going to let's do it right now. This is long enough. You guys could have already clicked off, so I could be talking to myself. Let's go ahead, because I thought I heard that they actually finally updated the price. Computer's slow. So I'm not an expert in this. I'm just going through the process right now, and I'm wanting to just make this video because I don't want anybody to they send the email out 2 months in advance, the state of Maryland, and I don't want anyone to miss all that fine print and then find out yeah, the third party saying these different things about how many ethics and this and that may not be on the state website, or vice versa. So just making sure stuff matches up, and things are going to be date stamped if you are late. So I guess if you're 1 day late, I don't know about 1 day late. Producer, let's see if it's under MIA info portal. So here's mine. Welcome to Real Estate Commission Public Hearing. That's not it. Let's try MIA, because I've seen a couple of things that says go to the MIA. Title Insurance Consumer Bill of Rights under Real Estate Commission. I don't even think that's RESPA. You guys want to learn about RESPA? Let's see. This is looking like stuff for the general public. Let's say Maryland Insurance. I don't know what the A stands for. MIA. Oh, it comes up nothing. This is why I'm making this video, because I've had the hardest time finding the information, and it could just be me. My age is going up. It's coming up, mutual indemnity agreements. Okay, here it is. Insurance.maryland.gov/ P for producer / P for pages / instead of / titled IP.AESPX. So insurance. Okay, so here's where I was earlier. General information, initial license applications, renewal applications, and paper and online applications. Must submit all the same documents required per applicant as an initial. What? Really? Oh no. Business entity license expires 2 years after the issue. Who's that business entity? I don't even know what that means. I just wrote down $69. I put 69 plus 15. I guess it's 69. Oh, if you're late, it's $100 extra. If you go, that's 1 year or less renewing late, and then after 1 year, you have to reapply for an initial license. It says by completing all the Maryland initial license requirements. So Prometric is MIA's vendor for continuing education. It says look up the transcript, visit circon.com or call this number. And then it says you can take all or part from classroom correspondence or online, approved by the commissioner. Title only 13 hours of continuing the title, and then 3 in ethics. So the class I did buy does say it's expired. So like fingers crossed. I did call the owner because I sent an email asking about this after I called this Prometric, and they said, I don't know, well, just don't take it. But I wanted to support this business because I had good luck getting the information in a timely manner. And when you pass your pre-test, the agency you take your class through needs to send that information. Also, everything they have to send to Prometric as well to show that you passed. And then if they don't do that, you can't sign up for your test through the online portal. So I'm going to go through this. That's not what I was going to do. Oops. All right, so we're going to look up Maryland Notary. Let's say fees. Let's see if it pops up as... There'll be people that will charge like $100 to go do mobile notary in their own like town, and they're like, I don't care, but the state determines the maximum price you can charge. You can charge $0, but the maximum you can charge for mileage and the maximum that you can charge, for oh shoot, the handbook you have to pay for it now. The maximum that you can charge per notarial act, and make sure that you 62.5 cents per mile. Make sure that you don't necessarily just listen to people saying stuff. Like even me, you need to look it up. You need to contact them. You need to call them. You can listen to what's that big notary class that comes on? I can't remember what it's called. Notary Heroes or something like that. You can get sucked into these kind of groups and websites, or Facebook groups. Notary Rotary. I think that's when I signed up for. What's the other one? Notary Cafe. There's some gossip on there. I had some issues with Coast to Coast, like major issues. I actually, because of Coast to Coast, I have not accepted a notary, or I have accepted a private notary job where someone called me directly for general notary, but I have not accepted a loan signing because they screwed me over so bad, and I lost a lot of money. And I lost a lot of money with someone out of Florida that was doing something weird, and the names weren't matching up and all kinds of weird stuff with the application. And they actually issued me a check, and I did not cash it. And I didn't feel right about it, and ooh, I was broke. Man, I could have used that. It was $150. It was pretty good. And I contacted the person by email, and they refused to talk to me. And they told me I didn't know what I was doing, and that they found somebody in my area who had been doing it for 16 years who had no problem doing the things. But if you have like the Notary Hero or whatever it's called, I think they do a lot of stuff out of California. Well, some of the people who speak, and they'll do things easier or not, or more strict. And they're going to be answering questions from around the country. And I've definitely heard some things weird, like, oh, don't worry if it doesn't say junior or the second on the thing. But then they go right around and say that's one of the most common types of fraud, is that, having people with different names and not someone's conning someone basically out of a property. It could be like a dad taking their son's property. Oh, well, someone just didn't put that on the paperwork. And I've had places adjust that, and I've had people where if they're selling or refinancing, they might not have had junior or second on the original one because the first group didn't. As a notary, I don't pull up the papers and make them. But what's sad is if I see mistakes, I speak up about it. Like someone only gave me like 50 pages for a refi or for a seller or a buyer's package, and I was going to go an hour away. My printer almost caught on fire. It was an absolute mess. All my papers were getting torn coming out of the printer, and I didn't have a dual tray. So I was manually entering, and I was separating each thing out because I didn't have that. Anyways, it was a mess. It took me like 3 hours, and the people were waiting for me like all day, and it was an absolute nightmare. But I said, oh, this is easy. They only gave me like a few pages. I was on my way out the door, and I was like, this can't be right. And I called, and they're like, oops, we forgot to attach the files. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I would have driven an hour away. I tried to set up a mobile printer. I almost consider taking my printer anyway, because usually where you are, you can plug it in. Blew out the fuse on the vehicles, 2 different vehicles. It's just like crazy. So that's more of the actual real time, real life, not the stuff. But I'm not able to find. I didn't look very well, did I? So I'm an authorized remote notary. They had a temporary one, and I didn't realize that you had. Let's see if I'm still on here. Are these under? Let's see if my name. What are these? Last name, first name? Oh, they're under. Okay, they're alphabetical order. I hope I'm still on here. Yes. 12/16. Oh shoot. So I thought it expired 12/31. Okay, 12/16. Put that in the calendar. Does it say what county I'm in? I'm gonna say all. I guess you have to have your stuff for the county you are. And anyways, I can do other videos. I didn't mean for this to be an hour, but let me go ahead and look up the class that I just received. All I know is it had a heading as important information. Please read. We'll just look up the class and see what it says. I thought she sent 2 emails. Oh, I have a new score. It's a small business. I have a new score. What you call it? Mentor. So learn the best you can, but make sure if you work with someone, even in the field, even if it's an expert, even if it's a lawyer, make sure you do your due diligence. Just like when you're the person, when you went to work every day and you ran your company and or worked as an employee, and you're the person now finally buying the house. Like I say finally, a lot of people I know already own houses. But then you sign the paperwork and you make sure that the name is right and not this, because you don't have any problems if later on. And I think one hard thing is when somebody's born a junior and their father wasn't a junior until that baby was born, and then they became a senior at some time, and then if one of those people dies, the name changes. I think that's kind of weird. And I know some people say, hey, is there a birth date on the documents? Match that birth date up with the government issued ID. Please now. Oh yeah, to pass with 70%, you may take the final exam as many times to pass. Submit an application renewal fee up to 90 days for the date of license expire. Oops, I should have turned mine in earlier. Solely responsible for renewing license. So she's being really nice by. You have to pay through NIPR. She's being really nice to go ahead and tell us all the things that I could have just spent 5 minutes reading her email and crediting her for this video. Ended up being an hour because I got on a tangent. So NIPR, that's another thing. When you get the first, you do the pre-licensing test, pass that, sign up for the other test, which I think maybe they still let you proctor. Oh yeah, they don't just have insurance people in there. They have other people, any type of person that needs a test. I think maybe even my medical school test is now administered through these proctors instead of them having a proctor sit at the school. I'm not quite sure. And all the test is a computer, which I had never done before. Oh my gosh, I have ADHD, untreated, PTSD, and hypersensitivity to everything, including noise and movement. And I had to take my very first computerized test. And so those people, Prometric, when your score comes in, when you pass, they send that to whoever, to NIPR, and you have to figure out how to go through the process of getting your license through that other place. It's not necessarily just going into the Maryland.gov website, I don't think, unless it has a link. I don't remember seeing one. And then you have to go through that and do whatever. I don't even remember. I think there is a background check through that, but you had to wait. There's a lot of people on this list. Are they all doing? Like, you guys should call one of these Maryland people and see if they try to. Like, you'll see websites that'll try to charge you, like, there's a duplicate on here. They'll try to charge you, like, $100 for one signature when my state was telling me it was $4. I thought they like 2 years ago they refused to let us receive more than $4 per notarial act. It's like, who's voting? Like, I know those people. That's like an hour's worth of work. would you be paid? Minimum wage is more than an hour. Like, even if you could put it as a half an hour, 10 minutes, like, you need, like, sometimes you have to print the stuff and photocopy, bring your own equipment. You could charge up $2 per copy or whatever it is. $1, I think. $1. Don't quote me on it. I'm actually looking for the fees. I don't know why I cannot find the fees. And then you have to pay for the handbook, which that's kind of sad. The handbook used to be online. I think I downloaded it, but I should probably just double check. They have, yeah, authorized course of study and exam providers. Exam? I didn't have to take an exam the first time, did I? Or maybe I did. I don't even know. But anyways, check anything that you have. Make sure you get the license and all that stuff, CE in a timely manner, the different 2 licenses, and then make sure you get all the other stuff in a timely manner that you need, because it's like a lot of different agencies and we have to like pull it together. So take notes and write down who you talk to and put the calendar. Let's do it right now. I always double checked when I did a stamp, general notary versus loan signing. Sometimes it will say, oh, on certain documents you just put your notary stamp, on other ones you put your typic stamp. And I've seen people get a general stamper that I don't have to buy every 2 to 3 years. And I feel bad because I got my stamper with the refill ink, and I have to like replace the whole thing. It's a big, sturdy, robust thing. So let's go to December 16th. So that's on a Saturday. And I do not. Oh shoot! I have to do my DMV. If I have a vehicle in Oregon, I have to do the DMV by a certain date. Oh my gosh! I'm about to pass out. So you guys are probably more organized than me. I'm gonna say general notary. I'm gonna start with notary because I need it to pop up good. Notary expires December 16th. General, Maryland. So that's the story of how I became, and I'm supposed to be focusing on my medical career, but I don't want to lose my certifications because I don't want to have to retake the test, and I don't want to pay a $100 fee. Like, if I want to spend an extra $100, I can just go and join another group. And then I'm gonna click around on this. So the Secretary of State does not endorse any specific provider. The list of providers is here below. National Notary for new and returning. National Notary Training. National Notary Training. There's only a list of a few. So maybe I could have taken the National Notary Association renewing applicant course. Y'all want to know more? You guys have another minute? Let me save this though first. I'm going to do 1 week before. I'm going to do, because you can only do so many, I'm going to do 2 weeks before. I should probably do 1 month before. So I'm going to get rid of the 10 minutes before and turn that into 1 month. There's a lot of stuff that, in my businesses that I own, I'm going to do 4 weeks. I have a lot of stuff due from now. So September through December 31st, literally, and it's a lot of money. And as a student, having been a student for most of my life. Gotta go, guys.